you very much for inviting me for this webinar and for the occasion on writing this paper. It's been a pleasure working together with Professor Anning. I think the paper we wrote is quite a decent introduction to the status of the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, or as it's called recently, the Islamic State in Sahel province and the Islamic State in Western Africa province. If we look into both groups, basically they both split off from factions of Al-Qaeda or the group that was led by Abu Bakr Shekau. I'm going to be very brief about this, basically. If you look into the current state of both groups, ISGS, or the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, poses more brutal violence than the Islamic State in Western Africa province. We've seen, for example, we have seen the introduction of Islamic law in areas ISGS and ISWAP have been controlling, like, for example, the introduction of Islamic penal law. Hudud, Tazir, and Qisas are implemented in a very strict way. We've seen a very recent example in, if I'm not mistaken, Nigeria, where two people that were accused of Sahara basically being magicians were beheaded by the Islamic State in public. Ever since the Islamic State broke down in the core land, Syria and Iraq, in March 2019 in the fall of Baghouz, it now seems safe to say that the epicenter for the activities of the Islamic State, both in both groups, in several countries, as we see on the map below, they are now the epicenter, or yeah, they have been called the epicenter of global jihad for now. The big question, however, is will these groups be able to pose a threat on Europe and on further expansion throughout the Sahel and even more south? Or will they remain local? As I've been fearing for a while now, since France got kicked out of Mali and Burkina Faso, now the operations by MINUSMA have been ordered to stop. I'm afraid that if MINUSMA will leave those countries and will have to cease the activities, that this leaves a window of opportunity for both groups to broaden their existence throughout the region and to eventually pose a substantial threat towards Europe as well. In my opinion, it's just a matter of time before these groups try to achieve not only local successes, but global successes by sending operatives to Europe or throughout the region.